Thanks. And this next slide I'd just like to pause on for a moment because this is a survey BMC does every so often through Tech Validate to show just, the stickiness of Remedyforce, I guess. Remedyforce customers like it. They're expanding it, as Dick mentioned. They're getting fewer calls. They have better IT capacity, et cetera, and most of them renew. They find that Remedyforce is able to grow as they grow or scale back if they need to scale back. So they do stay with the product. And these are just some of the metrics that are out there. This webinar in particular, we want to talk a little bit about, on-premise solutions versus cloud solutions and why are people moving to Remedyforce from on-premise solutions. As you all know, BMC has a variety of on-premise solutions, including TrackIt and FootPrints, good, strong solutions. They both recently came out, recently for TrackIt and maybe a year or two ago for FootPrints, came out with new versions that were fairly major in their upgrade requirements. And I think that's when some of our customers started thinking about, do I want to continue with an on-premise system where I need to do the upgrades or get RightStar in to do the upgrades, where I need to do all the management of the servers, I need to worry about denial of service attacks or things go down, backing up the database, all that kind of thing. And that's when a lot of customers start saying, maybe now's a good time to say, well, BMC, what do you have in the cloud environment? And that's what Remedyforce is. Remedyforce is a full IP service management ITIL compliant solution sitting on top of this Salesforce platform. It's called Force.com. So it's really the best of both worlds. The first release was back in 2010, and it was brought together the power of the Salesforce platform with the knowledge of BMC around ITSM processes. It's been a really good partnership. You can go out and look. You can look at trust.salesforce.com and other places. That platform is strong. It's secure. And the way Salesforce has architected it, when you make changes, configurations, et cetera, everything is maintained on upgrades. So Salesforce upgrades the platform 3 times a year. BMC upgrades Remedyforce twice a year. They will do the upgrades for you. You can be logged in while the upgrade is happening. I actually do my own upgrades because I want to get them on day one. And I'll start the upgrade. I'll keep doing other things in my Remedyforce org. 20 minutes later, I get an email that the upgrade is done. I don't have to worry about the boxes. I don't have to worry about upgrading databases. I don't have to worry about any of that. I can focus on configuring Remedyforce to show our customers just what a great solution it is. And in fact, RightStar is now using Remedyforce for our support desk for our L1 and remote admin customers so that they also are now experiencing from it. So we're also making sure that that's supporting them. So we specifically wanted to talk about the on-premise versus cloud today because we know we have a lot of TrackIt and FootPrints customers on today. And this is why people are moving to the cloud. It's not that, TrackIt and FootPrints are great solutions, but a lot of customers are tired of managing the day-to-day, the boxes and the upgrades and those kinds of things. Now, I know the other question that comes up was, am I losing anything when I move to Remedyforce? And you aren't. It has the full set of ITIL processes. Things are done in a different ways. It looks a little different than FootPrints and TrackIt, but you're going to get that full self-service, including being able to search the knowledge base, all the way to the back end with the incident, problem, change, full configuration management database, et cetera. Now, for the purposes of today, we're not going to hit every single thing on here. What we want to do is give you a good flavor of it so you understand moving to the cloud, you're not going to lose anything, and maybe you're going to gain some things as well. The other question, of course, that always comes up at this point is, well, what about moving my data? And the question, of course, you can move your data. Whether you want to move your data is another question, but Remedyforce has the ability to bring in data. FootPrints and TrackIt can export the data, or whatever solution you happen to be using does pull into it. There was another great question that just came up was, what about purchasing? I know there's some flavors of those that people have built in FootPrints or TrackIt has in it. Remedyforce doesn't have a whole purchasing app natively if you just installed Remedyforce on your Salesforce org. But there's something called App Exchange, and that's basically like the Apple iStore. App Exchange is a Salesforce store. And there are some both free and paid stuff out there. I know there are some purchasing apps out there that can sit on the same Salesforce platform that Remedyforce is on. You can tie them together. They can work together. I know there's one that Salesforce Labs has put out a purchasing application That includes purchase requisitions, purchase items, some other things as well. And so some of our customers have gone that route and tied it into Remedyforce. Other customers have said, you know what, I'm just going to use the ticketing in Remedyforce and the CMDB, and I'm going to make it work for purchasing. So it really decides what you want to do around purchasing. But that's a good question, so I appreciate you bringing that up. So the last, one more thing on this slide, I really do want to talk about the configuration management database. So the CMDB structure in Remedyforce is the same one as in the BMC Helix Remedy platform. What does that mean? That means it's a very robust CMDB structure. We're going to be able to put your asset data into it. Remedyforce does include the agentless discovery piece. I think TrackIt customers have been benefiting from this a bit as well. But it does have an agentless discovery piece that will go out, scan a range of IP addresses, and start populating that configuration management database. If you want the full endpoint management, some of the FootPrints customers I know are using the full BMC's client management, endpoint management solution. TrackIt customers are starting to move on to that now, especially with the latest version of TrackIt. We do tightly integrate with the full client management application. The agents are an add-on, but the agentless piece of BCM is included in Remedyforce. If that confused anybody, I apologize. We'll set up a demo just with you and with your team individually, and we can go into all the details of that. But just know a robust CMDB structure, a way to start getting it populated, and a lot of other options as you want to populate it more. And of course, whenever we talk about integrations, you're not limited to BMC tools. If you have third-party tools you're already using, Case, SCCM, Altiris, we can pipe those into the Remedyforce CMDB as well. And because it's sitting on top of the Salesforce platform, there are so many integrations already built out there that work with it. I can't even go into them all. These are just a sampling of some of the customers use. I did mention that specialized demo. Again, this is going to be a more general demo, but if you want a more specific demo, definitely do talk to your sales rep and we can get a more specific demo for you and your team. There will be a recording of this. We'll get that sent out later. And if I'm talking too fast, hopefully the recording, you can go back and slow me down a little and talk to it. I apologize. There's just so much great stuff in Remedyforce. I tend to go a little fast. If you are not seeing full screen and you want to, if there's a set of initials across the top, go all the way to the right, and there should be a little rectangle on the right. If you hover over it, you should get floating panel view. You may still have to close down some things, but full screen will give you the best view. So this is a self-service portal. TrackIt has it, FootPrints has it, every application has it. I like the Remedyforce one. I think it's pretty configurable and pretty powerful. I have everything enabled on my portal. Some of you may be looking at this going, wow, Ann, my users would freak out if they saw this. You don't have to show everything. I have some customers who have basically the submit a ticket link and the view my activity link, and they're not showing anything else. So a very configurable portal, again, maintained on upgrades. You don't have to worry about keeping notes on what you did. All of that is saved. I'm logged in as an end user here, Jackson, and he's looking and seeing some broadcasts. Broadcasts are messages you can put out to customers, call them whiteboard events in some areas. They're messages you can put out, so if you already know that something is going on, put out a message and maybe Jackson will put in a ticket against it. Jackson, of course, it would be a real short demo if he didn't put in a ticket. So Jackson's going to click on Submit a Ticket and talk about his email box being full. Now, the fields you see here are configurable by you all. They're the same fields every time. I have impact and urgency, mainly so I have something on the screen. Most of my customers remove that. But you do have the option of having dynamic fields. So I have this set up that if I pick hardware, I have another field up here. And those are the list of assets that are associated with Jackson. Coming from that configuration management database, so if he was calling about a particular box, he could go ahead and select that. In this case, his email box is full. And over here, what we've got are some knowledge articles. So there's a knowledge-based structure that's part of Remedyforce. It comes blank. Build it out as you go. And you can choose to expose some of those knowledge articles to your end users, while others might be support only. I'm going to preach to the choir here. Why do we want to do this? We want to make sure end users check the knowledge base before they actually submit a ticket. So hopefully Jackson can read through this. If he likes it, maybe he won't put that ticket in. Again, it would really shorten my demo. Jackson's going to go ahead and submit this, but I wanted to go ahead and show that it's very easy for Jackson to get to his knowledge articles as he's submitting the ticket. If you want to have more fields on that form, again, you can. And we're going to look at much more robust self-service options in just a minute. But I wanted to go ahead and just take this ticket through and go over and work it through. So I was just in my Firefox browser. I'm now moving over to Chrome. It does work in Edge, IE, Safari, as well as Firefox and Chrome. So a lot of options for your end users and your technicians to access what they need. Browser-based, and we're not talking clients here. So Jackson put in this ticket. I got an email saying it was in my queue. Jackson got an email. If you can get to his email box, you could see that he got an email with the ticket number, all that kind of thing. And of course, we have email conversation, which we'll see in a second. The main thing I want to show down here is that the agent also gets smart suggestions. Just like Jackson saw some knowledge-based articles, well, so does my technician. So I could look at this knowledge article. I could say, wow, this is a great knowledge article, and I bet Jackson didn't bother reading this. I'm going to go ahead and copy that link. And here I've got Jackson's recently opened tickets. Now you can see he's put in a lot about the email box being full. So I really don't want to just keep expanding his email box. So I'm going to link that knowledge article to there. I'm going to send him an email and ask him to take a look at it. Now you all are saying, but Ann, his email box is full. It is full, or it might be full, or it's almost full. But if he cannot get to the email box, I have this configured so my emails will show up on the self-service portal. So please read this. So you can always check his self-service portal, and he's going to get that knowledge article. I can build this email from any fields in the ticket, whether custom fields or whether out-of-the-box field like resolution. For those of you on TrackIt, we do have an unlimited, I think it's 500 custom fields per object. So a lot of custom fields that you can put in here. We're not limiting you to just 20. So I've gone ahead and copied that field in. I'm sending this email. Jackson can reply back to that email if he gets into his box, or he can reply on the self-service portal. And again, I've done that to be visible on the self-service portal. If I really want to be thorough, I can put a public note out there and say, Jackson, please review KB article. And maybe I've worked on this for about 10 minutes. But of course, some of you are saying, Ann, I don't always want my end users to see everything I'm typing in here. And that's why we also have private notes. And you define what's private and what's public. Not again, I don't want that out in public. So I'll add that to this ticket. And now we've got this whole activity feed. So if I'm on vacation tomorrow and maybe one of my coworkers picks up this ticket, they'll be able to see what Jackson and I did. Now just for today, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick close on this. So we got a ticket that came in from self-service. I responded with a knowledge article, and then I closed it. Pretty straightforward. It took me a lot longer to talk about than to actually do. Again, there's a lot more you can do out here, and I know some of you have done these on your systems where you build out more complex service requests. And so I want to hit something much more complex. I'm going to go from A to Z all in one step and talk about an onboarding service request. Now, you can have service requests out here about anything. And they can wrap back to your facilities, to your HR, to your security, to IT, et cetera. But this particular one is good because Dick Stark, you're going to come aboard. And we're going to, should we make you an intern? Then we have some other fields pop open. Then I'm going to make you full-time. We're going to start real soon. So this ticket can have a whole lot of fields. They can be questions. You can make them required or not required. This is a dynamic lookup into the system, so Charlotte's going to be his manager. This is more of a static table. So you get a lot of options out here of what you might want to ask, have your user select, whether it's in user onboarding, whether it's building out a new report in an application, whatever it is. You can have these out here. And the key thing about this one, the reason I jumped to this one, is it's going to create a whole lot of data in the back end. Now, this particular service request is easy to configure. This is data-driven. I didn't have to do programming, did not have to go to the database. It's not complicated due to these questions. I just define the questions I want to ask, what type they are, and whether they're required. So really, somebody can configure this who's not a technical expert. Based upon my choices, that's going to drive what tickets get created. So for example, when this drone control system ticket gets created, I could have actually had that go to approval if I wanted to, so that I have to get approval before I have control of that. If I hadn't picked the HipChat one, that ticket wouldn't get created. So a very robust form, but very simple to configure, simple for your end user to fill out, and we'll see the results in just a minute when I look at the back end. Just going to go ahead and check the Q&A window very quickly, making sure there aren't any new questions. I think we're looking good there. Okay, so I promised you I'd show you what that looked like. They're going to come into the back end. And there's that ticket that came in. I have a couple of different ways to look at this. I'm a text-based person, so I'm going to go ahead and use what's called a manifest to see all the tickets that came in. So I look at my service request manifest. You see I create a whole bunch of tasks with another object in the system and a whole bunch of change requests. These all got assigned out to various people out there. There's that drone control system one. I don't have to go in for approvals, but I could have. And these all got created, it got assigned, they can have SLAs tied to them, and people can start working on them. For those of you that are more visual, there's the Smart View, where I can look at it in more of a flowchart fashion. Start seeing what kinds of things are going on. Lots of ways to view the data. So whether it's very simple, my end user just puts in a basic ticket, or there's something more complicated, it can all be done from the portal. Last thing I'll mention is I've got Remedyforce chat enabled here. This is included with the solution. This is end user to agent chat, where Jackson can go ahead and start the chat here. I'm going to connect him with me because I'm the only one in the system. And I can go ahead and try to help him out. When we're done, I can either create a new incident or tag it onto an existing incident. If you do decide you want to go the chatbot route that Dick was mentioning earlier, then this chat would be replaced with the chatbot window, and where it would try to serve you up answers and ask you questions before it went ahead and either created a ticket for you or connected you to an agent. So those of you chatbot, it shows up at the same place, just says chatbot instead of chat. It's a lot more power behind it. So robust self-service portal, users can get to it. Don't have to use it. You can use it all through email. So emails that get sent in can create tickets as well. I did want to mention, of course, because I know this comes up sometimes, yes, we do include surveys. We have surveys for service requests and incidents. You can decide what questions you want on there, what the ratings are, etc. Default is they go out on every closed ticket. You can't change that if you want to. So there are ways to configure it to do differently. That was very fast for self-service, but what we're hoping you're seeing is you're seeing at least everything you're doing now, possibly more things than you're doing now, will be available to you. And again, it's going to be up in the cloud solution. So this is not behind a firewall. I can access this from home, from the beach if I could go to the beach. Well, right now I'm accessing it from home because I'm not going anywhere right now. But the idea is you don't have to have it behind a firewall. People don't have to VPN in. You can do IP range restrictions and things if you want to. But again, because it's up in the cloud, you don't have to worry that if people are traveling or going from building to building, that somehow they aren't going to be able to access it. And speaking of going from building to building, of course, one of the other things is the mobile apps access. So there is a mobile app for both your end users and your self-service users. So I can come in here, and I can go ahead and, let me go ahead and hit self-service here. Whether I'm an end user or technician, I can come in and use my mobile app on my Android or my iOS devices. So if I'm waiting, in my car in a parking lot to go into my doctor's appointment, I can go ahead and work my tickets or submit tickets from there as well. Included, available, and users have told us it's a good app, it's fast, easy to use. The mobile apps are available as well, are part of the solution. So coming back to the back end and thinking about this as a support person, I'm going to go ahead and get a call in from somebody. Luke's going to call in. And he's going to ask about getting to the benefit site. Turns out that he's adopting a baby. Very exciting. Can't remember the benefit URL because it changes every year. So we've created a template. I know you guys are using these in your current systems. Just again, wanted to show they're available in Remedyforce. And what I've done with this, because I've used a template, I've filled in the resolution. I've done my categorization. I've done my impact and urgency. and I've actually set it all the way to closed. So I've totally met my SLAs, my service level agreements, for my VIP customer, as well as my normal resolution times and whatnot. Luke happens to be a VIP, so it's nice that I treated him well. If Luke keeps me on the phone, he says, "Whoa, that's not working. You need to reopen this ticket because I've tried that URL. It's really not working, Ann. Now I need to do a little bit more investigation." Once again, I'm going to turn to Smart Suggestions. We've got down here, down under this fourth icon, are the broadcast. And lo and behold, it turns out there's a broadcast that our benefit site is down. I'm going to link Luke's ticket to that broadcast. When that broadcast closes, it's going to close all the related tickets. So I don't have to come back in here and close it later once the benefit site is up and running. It automatically, someone will close the broadcast, it'll close Luke's ticket, and Luke will get that message, as will everybody else who's linked to that broadcast. Had that going about a year now, so I got a lot of tickets linked to that. Form is configurable, and for those of you coming from the footprint side, while we don't have a concept of workspaces, we do have the concept of form layouts. So I can have different form layouts for different groups, just like in footprints currently, you have different workspaces for different groups. So if I go to my customer care layout, I've got this team field set here, and in fact, my categories are even in a different place on this one. And if I go up and look at my categories, let me go ahead and clear that out. I've got a fairly limited set of categories. So you're able to set up different form layouts for different groups. Think facilities, HR, customer care like here, that retirement group in Fulton County, et cetera. They can have their own categories, their own templates, their own statuses, so they don't have to see everything that IT's put in here. Because of course IT, we tend to have a lot of categories because we're like that. And then my category field is over here. If I go up and look at it, and I can see I've got tons of categories. So this is how we maybe could do purchasing within the Remedyforce app without looking at the App Exchange, because we could create a form for purchasing that had all the relevant fields, send it through the approval processes, have attachments and knowledge base articles, et cetera, as needed for it. So you could have a special purchasing form layout just for the purchase orders if you wanted to. So a lot of ways to slice and dice the solution. I know for footprints, that's kind of a jump going from workspaces to this. One of the great things about this is now everything's on the same underlying form. It makes, again, upgrades are painless, makes reporting easier, makes exporting and importing and all those kinds of things a lot easier. TrackIt, I don't know that TrackIt ever had something like the workspaces and footprints, so you're going to find you get a lot more flexibility when you move to Remedyforce. So much I want to show you, but I'm not going to take up all your time. I'd love to show you change management. I'm just going to flash the screen here and just say change is an awesome application. Has a lot more functionality than what at least the older TrackIt had. I'm not sure on the new TrackIt. Footprints, of course, you could build in a lot of change functionality, but just know Remedyforce has a change module. It comes with the license. Your Remedyforce license covers everything, and so you can use change as well. But I'm going to jump to reporting because that's the other big pain point for people. Because Remedyforce sits on top of the Salesforce platform, if you want to use Crystal, you can. If you want to use Power BI, you can. If you want to use Excel, if you want to use Tableau, all those tools and probably many more have tie-ins to Salesforce, and they can be used for Remedyforce. But I like the built-in Salesforce reporting, and that's what we're going to look at now. So if I provisioned a Remedyforce org for you, and you were starting to use it, this is the reporting you would see. And I always start with this Remedyforce dashboard. BMC starts you with over 80 dashboards and reports, and then you can modify them, of course, based on permissions and all those kinds of things, but you can make them look the way you want them to. So this is the Remedyforce dashboard, mostly out of the box, well, halfway out of the box. I've added things like tickets by month and category, incidents by account, incidents with link changes. So I've added a bunch of stuff to this dashboard as I've gone through and done demos with customers. But let's say I want to modify one of these reports, maybe this priority 1 incident report, because I want to now do a report for HR of all their tickets over the last couple of quarters. They're thinking they need some training, or maybe they need some systems upgraded, they're not sure, but they want to know what tickets they put in. So easy enough to take an existing report and modify it to include something like this. I'm going, well, it's for HR. I better filter this down just to the HR department. So I'm going to go ahead and say where department contains HR or human. Good, that's applied. They do want to see all of their tickets, not just priority ones. So I'm going to remove that filter. But they only want them for the last couple quarters. Figured anything beyond that is probably older than they care about, but they want to know if they opened it in the last couple quarters, and then they can focus their training and system changes and whatnot on those. So that's great, but now I need to do something with the fields on this report because it's not really, they don't really need priority anymore to group by priority. So I'm going to make priority a detail column. I'm going to start grouping. I'm going to group, they want it by month and by category, so I'm going to bring open date over under my report. I'm going to bring category over. I know TrackIt people, you had that awesome filtering quadrant thingy where you could just kind of grid view thing. That was pretty cool. This is probably fairly similar, a little bit done a little bit differently. We want to group rows by category. Actually, let me go ahead and make category detail column again, because I first want to group them by month. I'm going to say group rows by open date. Then I'm going to go ahead and group rows by category. But I don't, of course, want date. I want month. So all I have to do is say group them by month. Salesforce puts a lot of tools in here because their systems were used by salespeople initially, and salespeople tend to be just a tad impatient. Apologize for any salespeople on the call, but they're not going to spend 4 days doing a report, right? I had a customer, this was one of his 8 reports he did every month. He did it out of a different system. It took him a full week to create 8 reports. No salesperson is going to do that, right? Because they need to be in front of customers. They don't need to be doing reports every month. So he sent me those 8 reports. This was one of them I recreated. I recreated all 8 in about 2 hours. I had to add one custom field for one of the reports, and then they were done. I could have scheduled them to run at the end of the month. He would have gotten them, would have saved him that week of time. So I do feel like Salesforce reporting is very powerful, very easy to use, gives you a lot of capabilities, and it also means you don't need to have a reporting team. Usually when Crystal comes in-house or some of the other ones, you start having reporting teams because they're just a little bit difficult. Well, maybe that's me. But Salesforce reporting, you can now have people build their own reports. They can be private. They could be for a particular group of users. So again, your facilities team might have a set of reports that they do, or they could be for everybody public. Lots of ways to slice and dice permissions. So I love the reporting in Salesforce. I can go ahead and export to Common Delimited or CSV. I could have it emailed to me on a weekly or monthly basis. Or of course, I could just save it in an area and run it whenever I want to. So given how bad I am at reporting, I love the Salesforce reporting. We use Salesforce CRM here as well as Remedyforce. And I know our salespeople and our sales managers go crazy on reporting out there, so we have a lot of reports. But that's because it's so easy. So I wanted to show you that. FootPrints and TrackIt, I know both have pretty good reporting tools, but I have had both of those sets of customers tell me, you know what, Remedyforce looks like it might be a little bit easier or a little bit more flexible. So I did want to show some reporting. And I just very quickly took you through self-service, took you through incident management, took you into reporting. We saw mobile briefly. That was a lot of data to see all at once. Any questions at this point? You can put them in the Q&A window, and we'd be happy to go ahead and answer those. And Dick or Alan, if you see any questions, just let me know.
Yes, like Ann was saying, now would be a good time to ask a question. Ann, I've got one for you. I wanted to ask a little bit about upgrades because I know that we're working with a pretty good-sized government customer right now. They've had Remedy, not Remedyforce, for a number of years, and they just had a data center outage, and they were down for 3 days. It's hard to believe, but that's I'm not making that up. It really happened. So there was a lot of damage then. I don't know exactly what happened, but if you can imagine being without your system for 3 days, that was something. And then at the same time, we've been, I don't want to say fighting, but we've been working with them for a long time, trying to get the right people to make sure that they can upgrade everything smoothly because they're on an older version. It's on-premise software. And it just gets kept putting on the back burner a little bit because there's other more pressing priorities, and so they continue to be on an older version of software. And so I think the nice thing about these types of SaaS-based solutions is that you never have to worry about upgrades. But help me understand a little bit better, because the software does get a lot better, and it just doesn't suddenly show up. You wake up one morning, you go to work, and all of a sudden you got a new version. I mean, there's a little bit behind the scenes that has to happen, right? Because I know that some of our customers in particular, they've made some kind of unique customizations, and they've done lots of things outside of the ITSM platform. So I would suspect that it's not quite as easy as pushing a button. Could you help us understand that a little bit better, how that works?
That absolutely is a great question, and I'm thinking about that customer who's waited 2 months now to get some servers for his cluster, for his database cluster, so he can start planning his Remedy upgrade. It's slow when you're doing and there's reasons for that. So yeah, in the cloud, the upgrade really is that easy. You can push the button, or you can let BMC or Salesforce push a button, but no, you don't wake up one day and it looks all different. Unlike some other solutions I use, WebEx, I don't come in one day and it suddenly looks totally different, because to me that's very startling. What BMC does is when they deliver the new version of Remedyforce, almost all the new functionality is disabled. And so it allows the administrator to go through and say, we want to use these features, we don't want to use those features. So for example, that chat we talked about on the self-service portal, when that got added to the solution, it did not automatically get enabled, because the last thing you want is on a Monday morning, whoa, new Remedyforce, and now I'm getting chat messages from my end users. What is going on? No, it was delivered disabled, and so the administrator goes through the checklist to say, do I want to enable it? Do I not want to enable it? There are a few things that get delivered turned on. When they first added what I thought was an awesome thing, and everybody thought was awesome, so they just added it. You can now filter at the top. This was a couple versions ago. You can filter just by clicking on one of these columns, and you can get all your priority 1 and 2 ones. And you can filter on multiple columns if you wanted to, all at the same time. That one got delivered and implemented immediately, but it didn't really change the look and feel. It wasn't that people had to get trained. So I like that philosophy with BMC that says, look, we'll deliver it, we'll turn off most of the new stuff, you decide what you want to use. I worked with a customer, I swear, a year ago, who had not enabled any new features. It had to have been 5 or 6 years. They contacted us saying they wanted to get on the latest version and wanted to start using some of the new features. And we went and looked at their org. They are on the latest version. They are absolutely on the latest and greatest. But they have not enabled any new features in 5 or 6 years. Everything they were doing was working just fine. Didn't change anything. They just kept doing it. They really did want some of the new features, though, so we were working with them on getting them up to that. But it was very interesting. They were absolutely on the newest version. There are customers who need to be back a version. There are always those customers who aren't allowed to be on the latest. They have to be latest -1. And then you just work with the BMC support, and you get on the schedule for being back -1. But really, the upgrades are that easy. And you cannot touch something in the system that's going to break on an upgrade. So, you can't change the definition, let's say, a BMC provided field. If I suddenly wanted to make, broadcast into a numeric field, I can't do that. But I could hide broadcast, I could remove it from my form, and I could create a new field and put a numeric field in its place. That I could do. And so that way, when the upgrades come, they don't touch my number field, and the broadcast field is still there, it's just off the form. So honestly, Dick, the upgrades really are that easy. But yeah, it is nice that you don't walk in one day like a certain system is WebEx listening, and suddenly there's a new interface, and you kind of get thrown by it.
Well, let's follow up on this question a little bit, because when we sent out the flyer for the webinar, we showed a picture of an iceberg, and on the top you could see that just a little bit of the iceberg sticking up, and then below the water you can see what we entitled actual Remedyforce capability. So they goes very deep, and like most customers, they only use a very small percent of the total capability of the software. And go back to that example that you were talking about, where this customer, they were on the latest version, but they were still doing the same thing they had done every single day for 5 years, and they hadn't really advanced much.
Exactly.
So how can we get customers to not be like that one? Take advantage of what you have, right? Try to get you a little bit more your money's worth out of it, and I think you're going to get more value out of it. Would that require an assessment to go in and understand what's there and what could be there, and figure out what's the best way to get there? What do you suggest then?
Right. So hopefully, I don't know why that customer didn't do any changes over the year, but there are people at BMC and at RightStar, and when a new version comes out, we like to meet with the customers, walk through what the new features are, make sure they understand what's there so they can start enabling it. That's one of the ways customers get value out of the system. But we definitely have done assessments. There are customers who maybe say, you know what, I kind of want to know what I need to do, but I'm not ready to let RightStar come in and look quite yet. I want to have an idea first of where I am. And so on the Remedyforce Administration tab, BMC's actually put in a value adoption dashboard. So Remedyforce customers who aren't sure if they're adopting everything can go ahead and come into this adoption dashboard. You can see on my demo org, I'm doing a lot of good things up here. I could do a little more down here. My self-service, I seem to be missing some stuff. I haven't done a lot of ticket layouts. I don't have any common requests. I actually don't want those two things, so I'm good. But this starts giving customers an idea of, if your change management score is down around 20 points or 0, here are some of the things you can start thinking about leveraging to start getting more value out of the iceberg. It's all there, and it's easy to forget because you're in a rush to get Remedyforce out and going for self-service and incident and reporting, and you forget everything else in there. So I think this value adoption dashboard is a great place for customers just to start. Or if we come in to do the assessment, we're going to start here as well to say, hey, what are you using? What are you not using? You mentioned one of the large customers that's doing a lot of automation, looking at chatbot. When we were there working with them on their health assessment, we found out they weren't doing release management. They've been kind of thinking about maybe doing it, but they hadn't gotten the oomph to do it. And so us working with them, we got them started on release management for their monthly releases, just tying things to it and starting to get familiar with it. And so now they're starting to use release management. So it's definitely something we can help with to help you get the more value out of it. The other thing that happens, of course, is getting other departments onto Remedyforce. And that's where we can also help, where we can meet with the HR team to work out what service requests they might want to do and what they want to track on the back end, accounts payable, what do they want to expose on the self-service site. Things that IT just doesn't really have the time to do. We can meet with the different stakeholders, start finding out what their needs are, and start recommending how to implement that on Remedyforce. So we've done that for quite a few customers, and certainly we're going to continue to do that because we think it's a great tool. And like you said, there's so much value there. Let's go ahead and make sure everybody can do that. That's why we like this particular slide, because it really shows everything that's in it. And so customers, you've bought it, let's use it. Let's get value.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this a little bit more. It says down here there's 2,700 different apps out there in the App Exchange, which is huge. That's probably the biggest app exchange in the whole world of any SaaS-based solution, I would guess. I'm not sure. But anyway, I would suspect that if you're a Remedyforce customer, then you're using the Salesforce platform, so most of those apps would probably work pretty much right out of the box for you. Mm-hmm. So, for example, Salesforce made a real big splash with the whole COVID-19 situation by trying to be helpful. So now that things are starting to calm down a little bit and some companies are starting to reopen, it's all about, well, how do we get everybody back into the office? And you could say, well, that may be an IT task. There may be some other non-IT tasks, like security management and so on. And so I know that they've released a free app that they sent out to their entire customer base, or maybe they didn't send it out, maybe they just put it in the App Exchange for anybody to grab it. And now you could take and you could run this app, I would suspect, on the Salesforce platform that you have because you're a Remedyforce customer. Is that correct? Would you be able to?
Right. Yeah. Okay. You just install that app on there, give people permissions to use it. They wouldn't have to buy more. In that case, that one's a free app. They wouldn't have to buy any licenses or anything. Just get access to it, and they can start using that right next to the Remedyforce tabs. They start seeing those.
So they don't even have to be a Salesforce customer then.
Right.
Okay. They don't have to be. Yeah. Okay. So that's a huge deal then, because if you were using a comparable on-premise solution, or maybe it was a privately hosted system of some sort, you wouldn't have access to all these different apps. So even somebody'd ask about a purchasing app, right? There may be something there that might be a good fit for what you want to do, and it wouldn't necessarily cost an arm and a leg either, right?
Exactly. There's a free one out there from Salesforce Labs, and there are ones that are more robust that do cost money. I have a favorite app out there that I've tried out in the past called Calendar Anything, and it gives you like sim lanes. So if you're doing field technicians, you can actually build it out with the tickets having a start and end time and who's working it, and you can see that all in the Calendar Anything, so you know where all your technicians are at any particular point in time. It does have a small price tag attached, but that's one I happen to like a lot. There are also integration tools, there are widgets, there are robust warehousing applications. I mean, there's everything out there. People build everything on top of Salesforce. And so once you're using it, you've now got a common administration base. The reporting is the same. All that stuff is tied together. So it really helps with the learning curve. And you're not managing 5 different on-prem solutions, 5 different databases, 5 different web servers, and one takes Oracle, and one takes SQL Server, and one takes, Tomcat, and the other uses something else. And, you start having to jumble all your technologies together. It's really much smoother on the same platform.
Yeah. Well, there's just a lot of stuff that is swirling around out there right now. I can imagine that if people are starting to reopen their offices, any visitors that are going to come into the office are really going to be scrutinized. You can't just walk in because of COVID into an office and make a call on somebody, right? And so if you had an app,
are you going to have check their temperature, ask them how they're feeling, make sure they're badged, make sure they have a bottle of sanitizer with them as they walk through the office, whatever your precautions are. Build it and make sure it's in the app, and so the person checking them in, make sure they've hit all the boxes, they followed your processes, and they haven't missed one that could open you up to exposure.
And so that's just a great example of why you'd want to land on something like Remedyforce, because it comes with Salesforce, which has 2,700 apps. So I get that. Okay. All right.
Great questions.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions out there. I think that we promised about 45 minutes, and we went over by a couple of minutes. Is any closing thoughts or anything else, Ann, that you wanted to share?
I just hope everybody saw that you can, if you are tired of managing an on-premise app, especially in today's environment where you might have had to go in the office to work with the servers, Remedyforce is a great solution if you want to move to the cloud. I think you're going to keep all your functionality, and we'd love to show you your own personal demo. So, of course, you can always contact us. If you know your sales rep, great. If not, just email sales@rightstar.com, and we'll get somebody in touch with you.
Okay. Well, great job. Thank you very much, Ann, for a great 45 minutes or so. We appreciate that, and thank you for all the attendees out there for taking the time to be with us today. We do these things on a regular basis. We hope you can join us the next time we do one, and of course we'll send out an invitation, and again we'll be sending out this presentation, a recorded version of it for those of you that might want to pass it around to somebody that missed it. So thanks again, everybody. Please go out, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So long from RightStar.
Thanks.